Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Pet Connection podcast, where every third Wednesday we celebrate our furry, feathery, and scaly friends. Welcome, everyone, to the very first Pet Connection podcast of 2025. We started this show last year, and as many of you know, Nancy and I, mother-daughter travel team of Love Your Parks Tour and publishers of Big Blend magazines and hosts of Big Blend Radio, we travel full-time across the country, documenting parks and public lands, gathering stories about their communities. But as we do, it started back in COVID times, we started pet sitting through trusted house sitters. And so we are excited to have Angela back on the show. Angela Laws was on our show, I think it was 4.5. Wow. I mean, we're celebrating 18 years of Big Blend Radio this year. And Angela's been on for almost 5 of them. And when she came on the show, she's like, well, Nancy and Lisa, why aren't you doing this? And we said, I don't know why, because we're big animal people, like major animal and pet people. And we've been doing that. And she's back on the show. And today, this is the furthest away she's ever been from us. I mean, she's in England, Scotland, she's in the States. Today she's down under, and I don't know. I want to see if she's going to compare notes on Vegemite. Welcome back, Angela. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Lisa, and Happy New Year to everybody. Yes, I'm in New South Wales, Australia, and Vegemite. Well, there's a whole debate on that one. Vegemite or Marmite. I've had some Vegemite this morning, and you know what? I actually can't tell the difference, but I'm sure there'll be Australians out there going, you can't tell the difference. You obviously have no taste. So yeah, but no, I'm enjoying the sunshine, and we're down here doing all sorts of things with friends and one thing and another, and looking at, there's lots of Trusted House Sitter members down here too. But yeah, that's where I am at the moment.
I'm excited about Marmite because I have 2 big jars still. And, listen, you only put a little smidgen on it. Everybody that tries Marmite doesn't like it because they put too much on. It's not chocolate. It's a little smidgen. A little smidgen goes a long way,
That's all you need. And you're right. Anybody that I've ever introduced Marmite to has always come back and said, how can you eat that? It's awful. And I said, but how did you put it on your toast or whatever you've been using? Oh, just like I would peanut butter. I've gone, nope.
Nope. Your mouth will be salted out. But if you have a cold, then it's good. Other people have chicken soup. I make Marmite soup. But anyway, I'm not normal. But this is so exciting. You're down under, and this, shows about Trusted House Sitters for new listeners. Trusted House Sitters is this incredible platform. Nancy and I were just so thrilled. And a travel writer friend post something on Facebook one day, and we're like, oh, this is cool. Let's get somebody on the show and grill them. Well, grilling, you can't grill Angela. Listen to her. She's as sweet as can be. She is known as Auntie Angela, and she's a community manager for Trusted House Sitters. And this platform is amazing. It is not about being hired. Sometimes people say, oh, I hired you as a house sitter. I'm like, no, you didn't. You did not. This is about people working together. It's really about, hey, we're going to your area and we can take care of your home and your animals. And for Nancy and I, we work remotely. So for us, we can work, take care of everything while you go travel and you have peace of mind. And it's just this amazing collaboration where we've made human and animal friends all over the country, but this happens all around the world. And since we started 4.5 years ago, man, Angela, I see the number of listings on the site has just I know we started in COVID time, so that was one of the quieter times, but seriously, people are embracing it. And all I keep thinking is how big of a family it's created, internationally.
Oh, we have the most amazing, caring, compassionate community. And you can't help but be that way when you have a community that has animals at its very heart. And that's why there are more and more and more listings on the site. It's because, pet parents and pet sitters, pet parents in particular, have discovered that there are ways that they can actually travel but keep their pets happy at home and have that peace of mind that when they leave, that they don't have to worry that their pets are actually going to enjoy their vacation as much as mum and dad enjoy their vacation, because they've got somebody with them. And for pet sitters, and you and I, we both know, Lisa, because that's the reason I do this as well. And you know, I pet sit all the time. It's because I don't have any pets of my own. I work remotely too. But I also know that animals are a joy in my life. They're the reason, they're a purpose to get up in the morning. They're a purpose to actually, you know, and they actually talk, you can talk to them and have conversations with them sometimes better than you can a human. I mean, because they know exactly what you're saying. And that companionship that you have when you're traveling. And yes, there are responsibilities, and yes, it does take your time up. And no, this is not vacation. It isn't. But you know what? It's much, much, much more than that. It's something that gets into your DNA. And no matter how many times you say, okay, this might be my last one, it never is, because you get pulled back to those people that you meet, the pets that you care for, and just this whole community of, you know, pet people like you and me.
But, you know, Nancy, I love this because it just, you're getting engrossed in the community itself. Like where we are right now, we're in Peachtree City, Georgia. Our friends Phil and Andrea we've been pet sitting with them since the beginning. And, you know, she's an amazing ceramic artist. So everyone look up Andrea Fay. But we've got to know the neighbors. They came by to pick up some things today. We had a lovely chat. It's like, oh, I remember you from 4 years ago. And then the last time. And what was the latest podcast you're doing? I'm like, well, I'm going to talk to Angela today about the cats. You know, today, actually, everybody, we're talking about walking dogs because January is National Walk Your Dog Month. And like, who let the dogs out? I did, but I have a leash on them. And so whenever we apply for a pet sit, when I see the pet sit, you look at everything, like everyone lists their animals, what their needs are, responsibilities. And when I see dog walking, I'm like, yeah, because I get super excited. I love to walk. And I'm telling you though, the way our lifestyle is as remote workers, Nancy and I have a huge amount of work. Animals, number one, pets will always remind you that there's more to life than your computer or your cell phone, period. So it's a healthy thing for humans, but dog walking, I crave it. I love it because number one, you will not go for your walk during the day. That dog wants out. It has like to read the newspaper. We check our internet, you know, go online every day, don't we? We scroll through whatever to find out the latest headlines, what's going on, but that's what it's like for dogs. And I don't care, rain or shine, man, they want out. Some of them aren't like into rain, but everybody, as Barbara Woodhouse would say, I grew up with Barbara Woodhouse in England, you know, and even South Africa. Everybody knew Barbara Woodhouse. Walkies. Do you remember Barbara Woodhouse, or is it just me?
No. I remember her. Walkies was just, yes. Yeah.
Well, she was a sweet lady. She loved her animals, but, going out, the dogs want out, and they look at things that we don't even know, but don't you feel that way too? You know, Angela on a pet sit, and look, Angela's been pet sitting for a long time. How many years now have you been going with pet sitting?
Well, Trusted House Sitters, we are celebrating our 15th year this year, and I've been there since the very beginning. And so, 15 years of pet sitting and dog walking, and you're right. I mean, and the thing about the sitting dogs, and if you're working from home or if you're not working remotely, it doesn't matter. They actually help you have that work-life balance or purpose-life balance, because you can't sit on your, you know, whatever you sit on, your rear end forever and a day when you've got dogs to walk. And it is National Dog Walking Week, but and then you know, Lisa, you and I decided that this was a really good topic to talk about. But the one thing that I really want to emphasize, and I know you do too, is the safety of it, because in the last month alone, I've had two friends who are also members of Trusted House Sitters and their sitters who've actually been quite badly injured by dogs who pulled unsuspectingly, that actually it was found out that they did do that, but their pet parents actually thought that was normal, but they didn't tell the sitters. And one of the sitters, a dear friend of mine, and she lives in Washington, D.C., and she is so experienced with dogs. I mean, she fosters, she rescues, she does all sorts. But she's just come back from Edinburgh on a 3-dog, on a sit. One of the dogs actually pulled her so hard, and she unsuspected it. She didn't realize this dog did this. He wasn't leash aggressive. He was just so pleased to see another dog that every time he saw one, he would just take off. And she didn't know this. And she was there in the road, and this dog took her across the road, and she broke her shoulder.
It can happen.
Absolutely, it can happen. So, the first thing we should talk about is that, dog walking safety and training, that is so, so important.
Well, it becomes part of the language, right? So like dog walking, I absolutely adore it, but I don't adore it in a city with multiple, like if we're sitting multiple dogs, I will actually take them out on their own, one by one. Mm-hmm. Reason being is I don't need a pack on my hands, especially as a pet sitter. These are new to you. They're new, we're new to them. And look, like, don't you remember when we were all kids and we had babysitters? Until we knew the babysitter and they knew us, didn't we push buttons? Well, I'm just saying. Some pets do push buttons and go, let's see if we can get extra treats out of this. Let's go down this street. We know that there's other dogs we want to cause a ruckus with. They're like us, like kids, So I do one at a time. And I also think it gives dogs that one-on-one time with you to get to know each other, and the dogs to have a break from the other dogs and a little bit of independence. So I do that as a safety thing. And no matter what happens, I don't care how sociable your animal is, until we're in sync and we know the neighborhood, we start to know the people in the neighborhood. When I see someone with another dog, I go the other way, period. Yep. Because I don't know what that dog that I'm walking is going to do until, it just takes time. Even the first day we're with a pet sit, Nancy and I just sit, we hang with the animals, get to know each other. We watch behaviors. Everyone's watching each other. We're getting cozy. They have to realize, sometimes pets are really used to pet sitters and they're like, "Ooh, we're going to have another party." There's a lot like that. But sometimes it's rescue animals you don't know. There's rescue animals where you're part of the whole training of getting them to even walk, be fine with a leash. There's just so many things with it. And then some dogs really want the other one to go with them. Otherwise, you're not getting them out of the house, right? So everything is complex because animals are complex like us humans. But our thing is safety first, but also dog walking, if it's done bit by bit, is a way to create a language between the pet parent and the dog. That's how I feel like it is, like with kids, like, don't touch the hot stove. That's how you create this language. And you don't need to go in a marathon. You can stop every few seconds, every minute, stop, talk to each other, acknowledge good behavior, say no, stop every time there's something, not like if you're barking at another dog pulling, you stop immediately. That's kind of how I am. That's just me.
No, and you're absolutely right, because walking for dogs and for humans too, it's an adventure, and they get out there and they can, and the most laid back dog can get excited when it comes across another dog, or it sees a bird, or it sees another human, or it does. And so, and as squirrels. Sitters, squirrels especially. And as sitters, when we first go into, like you're saying, when we first go to a sit, we can have all of that information that the pet parent gives us. However, they're like children. They act differently with other people. They act differently than they will from their pet parents. If we've got all that information, and as you say, we get to know them to begin with. But also, you know, when you take them out that adventure and they get excited, they have to listen to you. You have to have the right equipment. Again, you know, there are some dogs that pull, and make sure that that pet parent has got the right walking equipment for them for the way the dogs walk. They shouldn't be pulling, but some do. We know that some breeds do. But get to know them. And, you know, I have this, and it's for me, and John, my husband, is the same. I do not ever let a dog that I'm sitting off the leash, even if I'm told they can, even if I'm told, oh, they've got good recall, oh, they'll come back. If I have the opportunity to be in an environment that is totally secure, totally safe, and I know they can't get out, I know they can't jump or get through, and the environment around me and around them is completely calm and safe, then I'll let them off. But there's no way I'm letting a dog off the leash in an open area, on a street, on a field, or anywhere. There's no way I'm going to do that, simply because I don't know how they will react to me. The pet parent does, but I don't. And
if there's an emergency, are they going to listen to you? They haven't been listening to your commands for 10 years, you know?
No.
And until you've developed that relationship, there's a dog, Lucy. Lucy, I'm going to put a link to like videos of Lucy. Lucy and I in North Carolina have mountain, forest adventures in the Appalachian Mountains. And we go looking for mushrooms. I do. She says, no, I'm going for the woodchuck. And they want to, hey, she's used to off leash. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I know this is your land, but you have variables, other people living around. It's very secluded though. But you have wildlife. What if it's a bear? What if it's this, a snake? I'm not doing it. I just don't know. And over the years, we've been doing it with a leash and she's fine. It's not as much fun for her, but she still gets out and she knows. And she also makes me do far more uphills than I ever thought I could do. She's like, Jack LaLanne, she's like, you're doing this, girl. You've been at the computer way too long. You're putting it on. Like, you need to go. So, but her and I've had some interesting, encounters. And I was like, no, it's a good thing we have the leash. She's also really smart because she knows what's going on. One time, I think we did come up into bear area because they have bears up there. And I'm like, you know what? I will not do it, even though I know she knows, and we have an amazing relationship. Safety is first. And, we've taken dogs on walks in the city, or like I remember taking a dog in Seattle and somebody else let their dog off the leash.
Oh, that's
not cool.
That is another.
That drives me bonkers.
Yeah. That's another.
Yeah. So the dog walks are awesome. But, I know from, it's good to look at timing. Heat is a huge deal. If it's too hot for you to go outside, it's hot on your dog's paws. All right. So there's that. So look at heat, look at cold, frostbite, all of that weather. But try to balance it when there's not so many people in your area, right? That's a lot of pet parents I know have certain times where, especially if they've got a puppy or a new rescue or like a dog that really doesn't want to be or wants to like hang out what shouldn't with other dogs, they try to time it when the neighborhood isn't so busy. Have you experienced that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've experienced that. And backing up just a little bit when you said about, dogs that are not on the leash and yours is on the leash, I really want to bring that one up again because I recently looked after a 7-month-old black Labrador, Lenny, absolutely adorable, and one of the best behaved puppies that I've ever looked after until he's out and he sees another dog. And it's because he is so excited to see these other dogs. And I had him on a leash, never let him off. And I knew how he behaved because I'd walked with him with his pet parents before they left. And I knew, and they told me, thing. And that is a very good thing. But we're over these playing fields. If you are a pet parent to a dog that you let off the leash all the time, and you know it goes up to other dogs for whatever reason, if you see somebody in that field with a dog on the leash, they haven't let it off. Do you know what? There is a reason that dog is on the leash. And if your dog is running around, then be mindful of that when you see it, because I had an incident where I had Lenny on a long leash. This person had two dogs, both of them off leash, and she wasn't even looking at them. She wasn't even doing anything. She was just letting them do their own thing, which is great, fine. But they both came after Lenny, and they didn't come after him in an aggressive way, but they came after him. Curiosity, they're dogs, they want to get. He went absolutely bonkers, and I had him under control, but he had so much power, he pulled me over. And this lady came up and went, I said, you know what? I said, there's a reason this dog is on the leash. And if you can't control your dogs, or you're not mindful enough to think that your dogs may cause a problem, then you need to rethink how you are when you're out. I said, because fortunately, this is a playing field. It's on grass. There's nobody around. I fell over. I just got my pride hurt more than anything else. But I could have been somewhere where I could have been injured because she wasn't watching her dogs and she let them go. So be responsible.
People I see, honestly, here's my biggest thing. People are walking their dogs with their cell phone in front of their face.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, it's, so I know we're talking a lot from pet sitter points of view, but we're going to show you by doing that, we're always at the most extreme end of the stick, right? Because we're new to the dogs. Yeah. But honestly, there are things, number one, if you take your dogs off leash, there's a park we used to walk, Nancy and I, in Yuma, Arizona, this beautiful wetlands. They were restoring it for the birds, the habitat. It was not you. If you had a dog, you had to have it on leash. This woman would let her dogs go crazy in the bush, and they had bobcats coming back, beavers coming back from this reclamation of this wildlife area, this corridor. And I'm like, number one, the dogs came jumping, running in the water. The Colorado River would jump on us. And I don't care because I love dogs. But somebody else who may be scared or may be disabled and couldn't handle a husky taking you down.
Yep.
That's rude. Number two, you're in a wildlife area, and you should, if you cannot manage your dogs by communication, you shouldn't have them off leash. They were going through the habitat. This is this one tiny patch the wildlife even have a chance of surviving in.
Oh,
how dare they do that?
Oh, wow.
And that's what
absolutely.
I understand. People go, oh, well, the dogs are part of the wildlife. Actually, no, because we domesticated them. Mm-hmm. It's two different things. And yes, you should pick up your dog poo. Stop not picking up the dog poo. It is not the same as a coyote or something that is in the wildlife. Here, I'm just talking in the States, jackals in Africa, right? That is, so you've got to think about what is native and what is not. And what your domesticated dog is eating is not always the same. I mean, we still pick up the dog poo from our yards. We should. This idea, I'm just going to bring this up. This idea of not picking up dog poo in your yard and allowing the lawnmower to go through it to fertilize your yard is disgusting. You want to know, there's so many people who complain about flies in their house. Well, start by cleaning up the poop, the manure, clean it. You do not put manure next to donkey, horse stables. You move it away. You do not, come on now. So there's just a few things, like I'm just saying, because we've all seen stuff. We're not getting aggro here. I'm just saying these are just some solutions to some very basic problems, basic solutions for basic problems. But cleaning up your poo, because also the poo, look, if your dog is sick, and you may not even know if your dog has got some kind of illness that is spreadable, another dog, the first thing they do is they want to go to that. And we all know about those little dogs that eat nuggets, right? So like, normally cat nuggets, but anyway, we all know those ones. just clean it up. It's so not right for anyone. And then you're expecting workers to go out there and clean for you, or, you know what I mean? There's one thing when you have a big wild area, like when I talk about Lucy, she's in the forest and there really is huge open land. It's different. It's different. And she's part of that natural habitat there. It's just a different, so just kind of, everyone has to base it out about safety.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you've got to be responsible. And we're talking about the dogs and the benefits for the dogs and what we should be doing with the dogs. Talk about the benefits for humans too. I mean, we're just coming out of Christmas and holiday periods and where we've indulged too much, and also the climates, some people are sitting in climates that are a bit chilly or wet or whatever. And you know what? A dog wants to go out no matter what the weather's like. However, for the humans, not only is it a physical benefit, it's a mental and emotional benefit too, to get out there and just actually, walk. And it is the best exercise. And this is why it should be an enjoyable experience for both of you. So we don't want dogs that pull, and we want humans that actually enjoy walking and know the animal as well. If you're somebody that's got a Springer Spaniel or a working dog or any of those, well, you can go off and you can hike for 3 hours at a time and they'll come back and they'll still want to go even more. However, you could also be somebody who's got an elderly, one of your elderly dogs and pets who just want a quiet walk around the block. Hey, that's just as good as a 3-hour hike for the person and the pet involved. It's getting out, it's meeting people, and that's what we do when we're with dogs. We meet people, we talk to people, and so there are so many benefits. But the one thing to really, and we've talked about this, and I really can't emphasize it enough. Make the whole experience safe and comfortable. There's nothing worse than seeing somebody on the end of a leash that's being hauled down the road and have no control or anything else. And it's fun, sort of teaching them good manners is fun, and you both learn something.
Yeah, that, because the training, the sit, stop, heel, all of that, walkies, sit, Barbara Woodhouse again. All of that is so important. It's a communication, and you have this shared language. As it starts to happen, the dog's like, oh, I'm doing something. It's making my parent happy. Ooh. And this joy comes from it. It is training. But if something happens, like you could be walking down the street just fine, and a drunk driver comes careening down the street completely out of your control. But the one thing you need to do is run over there like split instant. If your dog and you have that communication, you have 100% more chance of surviving versus not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're going to go their way, because their thing is, I don't understand cars. You do.
Yeah.
You understand a drunk driver before a dog, because dogs don't drive cars. They didn't make them. They didn't drive them. They don't drive them, period. So it's this language of, hey, and that trust, that's how you build trust between each other. And walking can create this amazing bond of discovery. I keep talking about Lucy, but there's Trixie and Zora, 2 little dogs that we walk up in North Carolina too. One is a rescue, and she loves her walk. She was a street dog. And the other one is like, I don't know, I'm not into this, because she's got all kinds of medical things too. And the 2 of them, and I do walk the 2 together because it's a together thing. Well, Trixie once in a while goes on her own with me. But I'm telling you, you have to be all in. If you're on your phone, and I always love to take photos, for pet parents to see, yes, your dogs are getting your walks, but I actually hate it in a way, because as soon as you do that, things happen. You're distracted from the eyes ahead. Well, let me tell you about little dogs, not just them, but another dog. The first walk I did on this other little dog in Florida, we met up with a water snake. I'm Trixie and Zora and I met up with a rat snake. It's like these little dogs will find snakes. And if you're on your phone, you're missing the snake. And little dogs and snakes, guess what? I'm just saying. So please put your phone away, be with your dog and have that joy, because it's also a joy for yourself. You're going to see flowers you didn't notice. You're going to start to notice, hey, look what the neighbor did over there. You're going to start to hear a same bird song. Then you go by that same tree that has a nest. You're going to start actually seeing what's going on in your neighborhood. If you are walking with your phone in front of your face and the entire, like today, I just watched someone walk their dog and the entire neighborhood could hear her phone conversation.
Oh gosh.
You know,
Wow.
well, it's a peaceful neighborhood. And when you go out, normally you can actually hear an owl even at the end of the day. But I couldn't hear the owl because the whole neighborhood was listening to her conversation. She had speaker turned up. She didn't even look what her dog was sniffing at.
Wow. Wow.
So
I mean,
I'm just saying, this is a moment between you and your dog. It's a relationship. You know,
and there's another powerful benefit as well. As you know, Trusted House Sitters, we support and work with animal shelters and rescue centers. And through the work that we do and all of the communications and the visits that I make and the rescue pets that get rescued, one of the highest concerns and most frequent sort of issues with any dog, and it's not just rescues, it's a lot of others, and especially since the pandemic, is separation anxiety. So many. I mean, it's estimated that, there are sort of 62 or as high as 75% of dogs will at some time experience separation anxiety and anxiety. And it's made worse for them too when they are kept at home, or they can't get out, or that they are left on their own for any periods of time. And so getting out and walking with them are ways that actually you can get around this. Even a short stroll around the neighborhood can make all the difference to your pet's emotional health and, of course, their physical well-being, but emotionally. And because it takes them out of themselves, plus they're with you. But looking at your dog and looking at their existence and their well-being in a holistic manner. And let's face it, they're creatures that are meant to move. They're not meant to be couch potatoes. Some of them are, but
get them out. Get them
outside.
Oh. Well, and I've talked about this with other pet parents too, is that like they want to understand what is around their home, because they feel responsible for your home. And so part of that anxiety is like, someone's come to the door. Oh my gosh, who are you? Oh, I see you every day, but still, and it depends. Some dogs are like, oh, I know the mailman. He always gives me a treat, whatever, everybody has a different, everybody is different around the world really about what goes on, and each home is unique, and each pet is unique, each pet parent, so we're all unique. And it's just about really having this bonding time and being consistent with it. So I feel, what I know from dog walks is the dogs are like, y'all, it's time. Pick that leash up. And they know as soon as I put the shoes on, they know. They're like, oh, she's doing it. She knows it's time. I'm going to get my walk. Like really, they start to wag the tail. They do their dance. Like Lucy knows. She's like, it's time. She knows. We're going to do it. We're going to be all happy dance, and we're off and running. And sometimes they are taking me off and running, but it's so exciting. And then it's like, the experience is so beautiful that, like, I keep talking about put the phone down. I mean it. Because we as humans need it. Dr. Jackie Ubani is on our show every second Wednesday. She's a cardiologist and electrophysiologist. So she does that zapping stuff, if you go in the hospital. But she's also an author, best-selling author of Women and Heart Disease, a real story. And she's been on our shows for years, and she's helped us, get off our butts with the tour, with our Love Your Parks tour. So many people kept saying, can't go to national parks unless you're an athlete and you're a backpacker. And I'm like, no, there's trails for everyone in national parks. If you're in a wheelchair, if you are blind with a walking stick, you can do some trails and enjoy them. So we started the 1 hour walk group on Facebook. But now, like, I was always in parks, parks, parks. Now it's like, well, this dog's taking me here. Well, hey, I didn't know this side of this suburb looked like this in Seattle. I didn't know that this area looked like that in Raleigh. I didn't know about this in Indiana. I used to walk, these broads, these canals. It was beautiful. And they had muskrat. It was the first time I ever saw muskrat. It was with this Great Dane who wanted to go after the muskrat, but he listened. And he was just like, look, look, look. I probably would have missed it. The heart health that comes from us being engaged. So number one, 150 minutes a week, Dr. Jackie says, is what we need for cardio fitness. We need to do 150 minutes of walking a week. That is, if you took 5 days and did 30 minutes, isn't that a dog walk per day? Except for you got 2 more you can do. And if you're putting your phone away and you're engaged with your dog, you're watching, number one, you're engaged with your dog. That means safety is at the top where Angela started on this conversation. And number two, you're going to see things you didn't even know existed, honestly, which means you're engaged, which means you're in this other state. You're not thinking about all these other things, or sometimes the walking is about that. It allows your brain to do what your brain needs to do. Maybe you need to think something out. Writers do this. We used to walk every morning at 4 a.m. when we lived in Tucson. Every morning at 4 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Well, especially in the summer. Summer was always 4, maybe 5, 6 and later, but 4 a.m. because it got really hot, and you'd see owls like in the early morning hours and stuff. It was cool. So everyone's different around the world, but I think the consistency, animals for anxiety want their routine, which is part of why Nancy and I love doing what we do with Trusted House Sitters. Is we know we do everything we can for animal routines because they want their food at a certain time. If you've set it up that way, and it's a good thing to have set up instead of, oh, who knows when you get fed, right? When they have routine, they feel like cared for, and the anxiety goes away if that routine is continued on. I know a lot of people free feed animals and everything, but if there's some form of routine, even turning the TV on, which is the opposite of walking, but animals love TV. But if you walk at a certain time frame, even if you're late, the dogs are going to go, what's going on? What's going on? And when you talk to them, when you see them, you got to tell them, well, work kept me late, and you talk to them, you tell them, they're going to answer. I sound crazy now, don't I? I went into dog mode.
No, you don't.
I totally did.
It's so much nicer, and it's so much more interesting, and all of, so many boxes you tick when you're out and you're walking with a dog. Walking on your own, yeah, there's people who love to do that, and that's absolutely your thing. Me, I actually prefer walking with a dog. I really do.
I do too, because there's this communication you have where they're like, no, I am sniffing this bush. And you start to look at, they have specific places. I have to go here. Some people always say, look, the dog's going to show you where. Some people are so great. They print out maps for us. Here's the map. This is where you're going, so but I tell you what, the dogs know their route. They have a route. They know they have to check each mark. Talk about putting checks on the boxes. Yeah. The dogs know, but it is, one of my favorite things really is walking dogs, because it's just a joy. You hear things, you see things more than what us humans normally do, right? Because we're always looking straight ahead. Dogs have you looking in different directions. Have you found that too?
Oh, yeah, because the other thing too is there's certain dogs that you walk and certain breeds that have to sniff every 2 seconds. And if it's a male dog, he has to, he's not actually letting anything go, but he has to do this every 5 minutes because, hey, this is my territory. This is what I'm going to do. But when you're walking with them and they stop and you stop, you look around and absolutely. And the only reason I carry my phone when I'm out walking is because I know I'm going to stop with that dog. I'm going to look around. I may see a flower that I want to take a picture of. I may see a view that I missed and I've seen for the first time that I want to take a picture of. And that's what I do. And of course, when I'm sitting, I take the pictures of the dogs and I send them to their pet parents so that they know that they had they enjoyed their walk, and they're just saying, "Hi, Mum, we've just been on a walkies and now we're heading home." But no, there's so many, there's so many aspects of it and so much of it to absolutely enjoy. And as you say, each dog is different, each walk is different, each need is different. But the one thing that we're doing is we're getting out of the house.
Yeah. Didn't we all learn that in COVID?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
We all learned, and we all started to understand why dogs need their walkies, and the other thing too, is that body language, that communication. You've got a really good article up on Trusted House Sitters, a blog post about the benefits of dog walking, and vet approved and checked. And so that link is in the episode notes. And I encourage you to go to trustedhousesitters.com. They have so much great information about dogs, cats, horses, fun stuff like how to name your pet, all kinds of fun stuff too. But, the dog walks, I think sometimes people get animals and oh, they've got a big yard. They really want to know what's going on. Who's that dog that barks on the other side? If you think about it, don't you want to see who's the dog on the other side of the fence, or even 2 or 3 houses down? I personally do. I want to go see who's doing that. And if you have this communication with the dogs, they get excited too. They're like, let's go see, let's go. It's so much fun. And at the same time as being, doggy voice or whatever, you have to have that safety measure, going back to that before we go, that safety measure in your voice, your tone, even how you walk. For anyone who rides horses, a horse knows when you get on them if you're scared to death. And if you're going to have if a horse knows, so does a dog. You have to walk with confidence. Wouldn't you say, Angela?
Yeah, you do. And other things to bear in mind too is, everywhere these days is getting more and more dog friendly. There's dog friendly cafes, dog friendly, and there's parks, and you can even take them to the shops. But the one thing that I will say, and it's lovely to have them with you, and it's, nice to have that companionship. But the one thing I will say, and you did mention, you did visit this a little bit at the beginning, Lisa, is, you know what, if you're thinking of going to the store and you want to take your dog with you, and you don't know that store, or you don't know the area, so you really don't know that it is dog friendly, for goodness sake, if you've got anywhere near high temperatures and you do not know where you're going, and you do not know if you can take your dog with you, do not take them out of the house, leave them at home. Because if you get somewhere and you're going to have to leave them in the car because you haven't planned your trip and you don't know if you can actually take your dog with you, then you need to get in that car, turn around and go home. And do not ever, ever, ever leave your dog or any living being in a car that you are in temperatures where within minutes it can become an oven. So if you just don't ever do that.
Thank you. I 100% agree. 100%. We see it. I mean, every summer we have to remind people that kids fall in pools. It's the same thing. But it's true, because we forget we're not the dog, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing as walking your dog, at noon or 1:00 in Arizona or Nevada or even Southern California at noon is not good. So there's those circumstances to always look at. And I want to bring this up since we do so much in parks. Do not assume that you can take your dog for a walk in a national park, a state park, a county park. Not all of them welcome dogs. Look up the regulations first. National parks have this happen all the time, where they end up having to cage the dogs. They have dog cages out there, and your dog may not be used to that. And while you're going on your hike, I saw this at the Gila Cliff Dwellings in New Mexico, like the very beginning of our tour. And we went on this hike, and people didn't know that they couldn't just take their dog for a walk because they didn't know the rules between the National Park Service and National Forest. National Forest, normally you can, but the National Park Service, you're talking about the highest protection of the land and in space. And so the Park Service had cages set up in the shade, but I remember this dog going berserk, and the pet parents go off on this hike to go up to these cliff dwellings.
Wow.
How is that dog feeling? I mean, the Park Service people are sweet and nice, but they're not there as pet sitters. You know?
No, exactly.
And so don't blame them if your dog's still whining. You know, your dog is whining for a reason. It's like, wah, what? I'm in a new space. I'm in a cage that I'm not used to. There may be other dogs in cages. I don't know what's going on. I'm outside. It's summer. I'm in shade. I've got water, but like, where are they going? What is happening to me? You know, if dogs don't understand what is happening to them, remember that. Think about it if you were just taken here, dropped off there, and you have no clue what's happening to you. Suddenly you're put in a cage in the middle of nowhere, and you're like, what the heck, man? So just a thought on that. It's, you know, people RV with animals, I know, and some animals love it and are used to this kind of thing. So some are really good at it. I'm going to say 10 to 20%, maybe 30. The rest, no. They want to be home, go for their normal routine walk, watch TV, and feed me on time, please.
Yeah.
And give me treats.
So remember, plan your walks, unless they're the regular walks that you take every day, and you know that. But if you think you're going somewhere different, plan your walks. Do not walk in extreme temperatures. That's either hot or cold, without making preparations and without being prepared and knowing what is best for your dog and for you also. You know, the other thing to remember is no dog ever died from lack of walking. They don't like not walking, but I'm talking about extreme weather, extreme situations. Leave them at home where they're safe. Otherwise, when it's great weather, or it's, you know, if it's pouring with rain, they don't care. You're going to get wet, but they don't care. But make sure you dry them when you get home. Make sure that you actually take care of them as you would yourself. But no, just simply enjoy being outside with your animal, one-to-one bonding, and just remember it's a joy for you and it's a joy for them. And one of the things, and I know we talked about this, Lisa, when we first came on and before we started recording, the one thing that I want to say, because I know we're going to wrap up soon, is our thoughts and our hearts and everything are with all of our community in California, Los Angeles, absolutely everybody there. And what I want to say on behalf of Trusted House Sitters is our thoughts are with you, and you know, we are thinking of you and we're there with you as much as we can.
Absolutely. Especially I know so many pet parents, you know, things moved really fast with this fire. It's like Lahaina too. So some people ran to the beach, you know. Yeah. So there's a lot of displaced animals, horses. There's so many people opening up places where you can, you know, evacuate to. But this is one of those things while you're in the thick of it. I know you aren't listening to this when you're in the thick of it, right?
No.
But what we can as a listening audience and all of that is help to fund those places, you know, the humane societies. You know, there's so many, the Red Cross does such a good job in all of this. The humane societies too. There's shelters, there's localized shelters. There's people doing things. So I know you see them on social media. Check them out, verify them as best you can. I'm not sure about Facebook right now and all that, but I'm just saying, I'm not sure. But you know, there's some basic ones like the Humane Society that's really going and doing stuff. So, look for those places that you can help, and maybe also be someone who can adopt those dogs and cats and horses, into your family, or even just foster them for a bit, right? If you're able to do that, that's fantastic. You guys know all about that. I know Helen Woodward's probably going to start to feel the pressure. Helen Woodward down in San Diego, but Southern California is feeling a huge pressure. And even as we're airing this here on Wednesday, we're recording this on Monday night. The Santa Ana winds are picking back up, which is going to affect a huge portion of Southern California. So please, number one, if you can help friends evacuate, and even maybe it's like they need to go to a hotel and you can take their animals, do that. Nancy and I have been through numerous wildfires. We went through a year and a half where we evacuated 7 times, also in an arson situation that it was intense. One thing that was really difficult was to get to a place because we were surrounded by fire. We actually had to go all the way to Arizona. We were in Julian, San Diego in the Cedar Fire, and we had animals, and it was insanely difficult to evacuate with pets. One new hotel in Brawley actually opened up to animals. They were brand new, and they just said, bring your animals. And we all got to spend the night there. Birds, chickens. Well, no chickens that I know, but people had birds. They did have birds. We had dogs, we had cats, and it was like an animal house, but they were and I want to give them a shout out. It was like Super 8, I think, or something, that allowed us all in there. But after that, we were all like, up a tree, literally trying to find hotels that would actually, when they have so many rooms booked. So if you can help your friends, maybe you don't have room for your friends to stay, but you can help the animals, that would be nicer sometimes than a big evacuation center with animals being piled in, especially if you know the animals. So it's just a thought out there. If you have room for horses in your back, if you have property that's safe, look at that as a way for doing these kinds of evacuations. If you can't house your friends, you may be able to take in the dog, the cat, especially if you know the animals already, because it is difficult to find a place to go when you have animals. And that means, where do you go? Right? So, just a way to help. So thank you all for joining us here on our very first Pet Connection podcast episode of 2025. Not the first episode. Thank you, Angela, for calling in on your vacation down under. Now I'm interested in this Vegemite versus Marmite thing. I'm just saying we'd have to revisit this on the next episode and see if anything changes. But thank you so much. Enjoy your fun. Everyone take care and walk the dog. Listen, hey, you know what? There's a whole music about this. It was a bunch of blues songs about walking the dog. And it's about, hey, I don't want to hear what's going on, the bickering in the house, so I'm going to walk the dog. And you know why? Because you can talk to the dog. The dog doesn't talk back. Yeah. So walk the dog. When someone's telling you to do the dishes, you could just say, I'm going to walk the dog. The dog's going to wag its tail, go with you, and maybe you'll get out of doing the dishes tonight. So anyway, take care, everyone. Thanks so much, Angela.
Take care, Lisa, and everybody travel safely and just enjoy the moment and enjoy being. All right. And stay safe, everybody.
Thanks for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's Pet Connection podcast. New episodes air every third Wednesday. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com and learn more about the world of pet sitting at trustedhousesitters.com.